Welcome to the lecture hall, everyone. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a masterclass explainer on quantum mechanics. We're going to unlock the mechanics of the quantum realm, a microscopic world that operates so fundamentally differently from our own everyday experience that it, frankly, often defies human logic. But I promise you, it's not magic. It's pure, mathematically profound physics, and it represents not just a hardware upgrade, but a fundamental rewrite of how we process reality itself.
Now, I want you to consider the physical limits of the device you're using right now to watch this explainer. It relies on a paradigm of classical computing that has absolutely revolutionized our world, but it's currently hitting a massive physical wall. As Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella pointed out, the world is quite literally running out of computing capacity, and Moore's law is kind of running out of steam. And as physicists, we know exactly why this is happening. We're manufacturing conventional transistors so small that they are now approaching the size of single atoms. At that microscopic scale, electrons literally just jump the logical gates. Quantum interference completely ruins classical logic. Basically, the traditional computing tools we rely on are totally maxing out.
So how do we break past that physical limit? Well, here is our syllabus for today's dive into the quantum realm. We'll start with the computing crisis, then examine subatomic mechanics, review extreme engineering, chart some historical milestones, and finish up with parallel realities. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the computing crisis, and examine exactly how we intend to break this technological bottleneck. Because, let's face it, right now, conventional processing power has quietly become a massive constraint on human progress. To overcome this constraint, we need a foundational shift in architecture. Classical computing relies on binary bits. They strictly exist as a 1 or a 0. It's perfectly sequential, just like a simple light switch. It's either on or it's off. But a quantum computer uses quantum bits, or qubits. Because we're operating at a microscopic, subatomic level, these qubits exist in a state of superposition. This means they can represent a 1, a 0, or any quantum proportion of both states simultaneously. As physicists, we look at how this creates exponential scaling. 2 qubits give us 4 states. 3 give us 8. By the time you string together just 300 qubits, you're representing more simultaneous states than there are atoms in the observable universe. It's wild. A classical computer has to check every possible pathway to a problem sequentially, one by one. But a quantum computer, through superposition, calculates them all at the exact same time.
Seth Lloyd, the author of Programming the Universe, captures this beautifully. He says a classical computation is like a solo voice, one line of pure tones succeeding each other. A quantum computation is like a symphony, many lines of tones interfering with each other. Let's really lean into this symphony analogy because it brilliantly illustrates the actual mechanics of quantum speed. Inside a quantum processor, wave functions interact. Through a process we call constructive interference, the correct answers to a complex calculation are mathematically amplified, just like harmonious sound waves building in a massive symphony hall. Simultaneously, destructive interference actively cancels out all the incorrect pathways, literally silencing the wrong notes. It's an entirely new way of isolating truth from noise.
Which brings us to Section 2, Subatomic Quantum Mechanics Explained. All right, it's time to fully secure our lab coats and examine the underlying wave functions that actually make this subatomic symphony possible. Now, an absolutely crucial pillar of this science is a phenomenon known as quantum entanglement. Even Albert Einstein famously balked at this concept, describing it as spooky action at a distance. When pairs or groups of particles become entangled, they can no longer be measured or described independently. Measuring the state of one instantaneously determines the state of its partner. And it doesn't matter if these particles are separated by a millimeter on a microchip or positioned on opposite ends of the galaxy, this instantaneous correlation completely defies classical constraints of distance and the speed of light. Today, this spooky action forms the absolute bedrock for unhackable quantum networking. And the underlying mechanics get even more radical. We also observe a phenomenon called quantum tunneling. At the quantum scale, particles just don't behave like solid billiard balls. They act like waves of probability. Sometimes that probability wave physically extends entirely through a solid, insurmountable barrier, meaning the subatomic particle has a mathematical chance to simply exist on the other side without ever having crossed the space in between. Theoretical models even suggest that at this scale, particles can appear to travel backward or forward in time. I really want to remind you all that this isn't science fiction magic. This is pure probability mathematics happening every single second in the microscopic world. And that brings us to Section 3, engineering extreme quantum environments. You see, it's one thing to map out these staggering wave functions on a chalkboard, but harnessing these delicate states? That requires environments flawlessly isolated from the classical world. To achieve that kind of isolation, we're looking at some staggering thermal requirements. Negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit, or negative 273 degrees Celsius. Why on earth must it be this unbelievably cold? Well, because of a fatal error known as decoherence. To measure subatomic particles, you have to get them into a perfectly stationary state. Any environmental noise from the outside world, a microscopic fluctuation in ambient heat, a tiny physical vibration, or even a stray wave of electromagnetic radiation will instantly collapse the delicate quantum wave function. Decoherence ruins the calculation. That is exactly why the cores of D-wave quantum computers are kept at just 0.02 degrees away from absolute zero. That makes them profoundly colder than the vacuum of deep space.
Yet, despite these extreme hostile conditions required to maintain coherence, this is way past an academic exercise. The world's most advanced organizations are already utilizing this infrastructure to push boundaries. Google is leveraging these environments to optimize complex machine learning models. NASA is utilizing quantum processing for incredibly complex routing and scheduling logic in deep space logistics. Lockheed Martin runs quantum calculations to simulate radical new aerospace materials. The utility isn't years away, it is already here.
Let's move on to Section 4, Historical Milestones, and see how this builds from a chalkboard concept to a cloud service.
The timeline here is remarkably accelerated for such incredibly dense physics. In 1982, the legendary physicist Richard Feynman realized a fundamental truth. You just cannot accurately simulate quantum physics using a classical binary computer. The classical machine simply runs out of memory. So he proposed building a machine that operated natively on quantum mechanics. By 1994, mathematician Peter Shor developed Shor's algorithm, proving mathematically that a quantum machine could use subatomic wave mechanics to find prime factors exponentially faster than any classical supercomputer. From there, the engineering raced forward. In 2003, DARPA launched an operational quantum network. 2012 brought the establishment of one qubit as a commercial entity, and by 2016, IBM launched Q, offering an operational 5-qubit computing service directly accessible via the cloud.
So, where does this rapid mathematical evolution lead us? And why does it matter to you? Physicist Jeremy O'Brien at the University of Bristol predicts massive disruption within the decade. We're rapidly approaching a moment where these machines will definitively outperform everyday computers. They're going to fuel vital, life-saving breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and the rapid discovery of complex pharmaceuticals. But crucially, consider what Shor's algorithm actually means for us. Cybersecurity experts are calling this Y2Q, or years to quantum. When quantum computers scale up, the traditional RSA encryption protecting every banking password, private message, and secure database becomes immediately mathematically vulnerable. It's a massive shift.
Okay, take a deep breath. It's time for our final topic, Section 5, Parallel Realities and Final Thoughts. Prepare yourselves, because we are stepping away from the tangible hardware and diving directly into the deeply philosophical, mind-bending implications of theoretical physics.
Quantum computing is often described by scientists as natural computation. You see, the mechanisms underpinning our physical world, the very way biology and chemistry evolved, actually operate natively at the subatomic level. Think about complex biological processes like photosynthesis in plants or nitrogen fixation in soil. These are inherently quantum processes that classical computers utterly fail to simulate accurately. By computing with these exact same quantum mechanics, we can finally model the natural world without approximation. So the crucial point is that we aren't just building faster calculators, we are building devices that natively speak the foundational language of the universe. Which leads to one of the most astonishing interpretations in all of physics. I want you to consider this statement from David Deutsch at Oxford University. Quantum computation will be the first technology that allows useful tasks to be performed in collaboration between parallel universes. He's referring to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Some physicists genuinely believe that the exponentially expanding computational space of a quantum machine isn't just a neat math trick. It is quite literally borrowing processing power from parallel universes to crunch data.
Let that concept completely sink in as we close out today's lesson. Theoretical models suggest that one mathematical explanation for why quantum computers actually function involves tapping into the multiverse. So what does this all mean? Are qubits truly able to exist in multiple states simultaneously simply because we are observing them across alternate realities at the very same time?
Are we actively collaborating with parallel universes right now just to optimize our earthly logistics and drug discoveries? It's a profound, breathtakingly immense question to leave you with. The quantum realm isn't just providing humanity with a more efficient machine, it is forcing us to fundamentally rewrite our understanding of reality itself. Class dismissed, everyone, but the quantum mystery has really just begun.